So the UFC just hit us with the biggest info dump. This is the best way I can describe it of fights that I have seen in a while. And there is just a lot to unpack here. I mean, it's just, where do I even start? I guess I could start with Michael Chandler is fighting Paddy Pimblett, and it is officially booked, and I am very, very thankful that Michael Chandler is not being handed another top 5 opportunity from the UFC on a silver platter, because we had been hearing leading up to this, we had been hearing that he was maybe going to be fighting Arman Sarukian. And I was going to absolutely lose my marbles if that fight ever got announced. But thankfully, it has not been announced. It is Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett. I think this is a good matchup. I think it's a pretty decent matchup. It is a good step down in competition from Michael Chandler, and it's a good step up, and honestly, a pretty good test for Paddy Pimblett. As to who I think is going to win the fight, man, I could see Paddy pulling it off. I see Paddy pulling this off, honestly. I think Chandler could knock him out and finish him. Paddy does fight like all he does for striking training is hitting the heavy bag. He has a pretty solid chin, but I don't know. With Michael Chandler's power, that's kind of scary. And Michael Chandler also is a very explosive, strong, big wrestler, but Paddy Pimblett has that jiu-jitsu on him. And I think I could see him tying up Chandler, who has just no jiu-jitsu game whatsoever. Maybe it's on Justin Gaethje levels of jiu-jitsu. So I could see him getting subbed by Pimblett. So that's interesting. A whole swath of other fights too. Like I said, we got Valentina Shevchenko fighting Manon Fiorot as her first title defense in her second reign. Man, Manon Fiorot is a good test to see if Shevchenko is still able to contend with the rest of the division, with the youngins, I wouldn't say youngins, but so Valentina Shevchenko's 36. She's only going to get older as time goes on. She's been on the top of the division for who knows how long. And Manon Fiorot is just huge. She's just huge, and she is very strong and physically imposing. We saw it in the Rose Namajunas fight. Then again, Rose Namajunas is small and skinny for the division. I mean, heck, coming up from straw weight, Manon Fiorot just shucked her off whenever Rose tried to take her down or clinch up with her. No technique involved. Manon just pushed her off, But Shevchenko isn't Rose, Shevchenko is her own, she's her own animal, and I think I could see Manon Fiorot just being too physical for a late career Shevchenko, and I think she could get it done. I don't think she could finish her. She's not going to be able to get a submission or a knockout, honestly. She's not going to be able to get a knockout, especially after the Erin Blanchfield fight. She looked okay against Blanchfield, but she didn't look great. She's not the most technical fighter. She just has decent boxing and some powerful hands, but I don't see her knocking out Shevchenko like that. I could see Shevchenko keeping her at distance, making her pay for coming in. But like I said, I don't know. Shevchenko's just not very high output lately, honestly. I just don't think she is. I don't know that a wrestling approach is going to work against Fiorot. We could find out. I really don't know who I'm going to pick against this pick for in this fight. I'll have to do a lot more film study on that, but moving on, we got some smaller fights. We got Chase Hooper fighting Jim Miller. That's going to be a walk in the park for Chase Hooper. Jim Miller's a more dangerous submission threat than Clay Guida. He's faster. He's better at this stage in his career than Clay Guida. But I still think Chase Hooper is going to be able to get it done. The youth and just everything on his side in this fight, really, except for experience. And again, experience can only get you so far. The older you get, eventually all that goes out the window because you're just old, So interesting fight. He's fighting another old vet. Much better than Clay Guida, but still. And then we got Nikita Krylov fighting Dominic Reyes. Now, this is interesting. It's been officially booked. which is great. Krylov is one of those guys where I'm like, where the heck has this guy been? Like, he's had some decent wins, but like, where's this guy been? It's just crazy, you know? I'm happy he's back. I think he's Ukrainian, so maybe that the Ukraine thing has had something to do with his absence, but I'm not sure. I'm just happy he's back. I want to see him in action again against Dominic Reyes. I think that's a winnable fight for Reyes, honestly. I think Krylov's more of a submission guy. Like I said, I haven't seen Krylov in a long time, so I just really kind of forget what he's like, you know, and I feel like he's just kind of forgettable anyways. Nothing against him. I don't think he's like a big standout in the heavyweight division, or light heavyweight. It could be winnable for Dominic Reyes. I will be rooting for Dominic Reyes in this fight. As to who I think will win, I don't know. Maybe Krylov. Maybe Krylov pulls this off. Who knows? We'll have to see. And then Patricio Pitbull at age 37, making his UFC debut against Yair Rodriguez. Oh, man. Okay. Pitbull's a dog. You know, it's in his name. He's Pitbull. He's a dog, man. But he's 37. He's been fighting in Bellator this whole time. You know, then again, Chandler has too, and he's doing okay, I guess. But against Yair is a dangerous striker. He is a very crafty and very fast striker. I don't know that's going to work in Pitbull's favor, man, unless Pitbull can just take Yair down, which I'd have to do a lot more film study on Pitbull. Yair's not a great grappler. He's really not. I mean, he got a triangle against Josh Emmett, woohoo. But other than that, like, he's not the best grappler, so I think the route to victory for Pitbull will be to grapple heavy. And I think if he can do that, then he could beat Yair Rodriguez. But man, I don't know. I might be picking Yair in this fight, just given age and just his breadth of striking versus Pitbull's. You know, I just think he might not match up too well against Yair unless, like I said, he can just wrestle him the whole time. Okay, so that's the more drama-free stuff out of the way. We're going to get into this next part. So, remember Leon Edwards versus JDM? Yeah, now it's Bilal versus JDM for the title because Shavkat is injured, and Shavkat can't fight. Now, it is Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady instead for that fight night. I think that's a decent matchup. I think it's a good classic striker versus grappler, you know. And honestly, Leon is he's a great striker, and he has good wrestling and good takedown defense and good anti-wrestling too. Brady, not all that on the feet, obviously. You know, he's not all that on the feet. Can he get Leon down and hold him there? Because that's how he's going to be able to win this fight. I think if he just takes it to Leon and he's got that dog in him, I think he could get it done. I will be going with Leon in this fight because the thing is, how you beat Leon, as shown by Bilal, is you pressure him with the boxing and then you get him to cover up, then you take him down, right? And that's honestly how you take down a striker in 2025 MMA, right? Gone are the days where you can just shoot a double leg, you know, and you'll get a striker down anytime. You need to set it up well. If you don't have good striking, and if you can't make guys react to your striking the way that you want them to, you're not going to be successful with your grappling. I think that might be what this fight comes down to. Is Sean Brady going to be able to put the striking on Leon a similar way that Bilal did, in a way where he can get the takedowns easier? And I don't believe that's the case. I think his jiu-jitsu specifically might be a different kind of trick for Leon to handle, because Leon he's been dealing more with wrestlers his past few fights. The two Leon Edwards fights, right? The second and the third fight, then the Colby fight, then the Bilal fight. He's had to deal with wrestlers. Can he deal with a more scrambly kind of back take jiu-jitsu guy? I think that's a question that remains to be answered. But for now, I do trust in Leon's takedown defense and his ability to shuck him off and not allow Sean Brady to get started with any grappling exchanges. And I think he could keep him on the outside and piece him up. Time will tell. But Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. That's an interesting one too. You know, Jack Della Maddalena and Shavkat present the same kind of problem for me. They are both very good in their division. They're the top in their division. They've proven it. They're close to a title shot, but they're just inactive, and they haven't gotten the opportunity yet. Shavkat, right, when he came in, I think he burst into the rankings by beating Neil Magny, and then he had that Jeff Neal fight. Great fight, choked out Jeff Neal, amazing, right? And then it just felt like so long between the Jeff Neal fight and then the Stephen Thompson fight. Chokes out Stephen Thompson, amazing, cool. Beat Stephen Thompson, he's in the top 5. He pushed himself up in the top 5 now, right? Then it just felt so long between the Stephen Thompson fight and the Ian Gary fight. And it's like, when are you gonna fight? Same thing with JDM. He had the Holland performance. You know, it was just like he beat Kevin Holland. Cool, that was good. You know, split decision, whatever. And it just felt like a while until the Gilbert Burns fight. It's like, oh, hey, JDM's fighting again. And then felt like forever since the Gilbert Burns fight. And then, oh, now he's fighting again. And he's fighting for the title. Oh, my goodness. Okay. And, yeah, it's just, they both annoy me a little bit. Because I want to see them fight more. And I want to see them fight for the title. And I'm happy that Jack Della Maddalena is back and he's fighting for the title. I just wish they could both be a bit more active than like once a year. But Jack Della Maddalena does have the boxing to like contend with Bilal, obviously. He's going to be a better boxer than Bilal and have way more power than Bilal, obviously. But we saw in the Gilbert Burns fight that he can be out-grappled. He was being out-grappled by a lesser wrestler in Gilbert Burns. A better jiu-jitsu accolades Gilbert Burns has, but not as much wrestling as Bilal Muhammad. We saw him get out wrestled in the Gilbert Burns fight before he got the knockout against Burns. So is he going to be able to survive that against a much heavier pressure fighter in Bilal Muhammad? I don't know that he can keep up with the wrestling. If he couldn't keep up with Burns for the majority of their fight, I don't know that the Bilal fight is going to match up well for him, really. The one thing I will say is that Bilal's game requires him to pressure box, right? As we saw against Leon Edwards, right? That worked great for him. Leon Edwards doesn't really counter-strike, though. JDM is going to have the scarier counter-striking abilities, and he's going to have the power. Leon Edwards doesn't really have the power. Like he can knock people out. He just won't, or doesn't have it. Like whatever combination of those things. JDM does. So I think it's interesting. Bilal will have to be a bit smarter in the pressure boxing in this fight than for Leon, and I trust him to come up with a smart game plan. I really do. But I think that at the end of the day, I might go with Bilal Muhammad. I think Bilal can get it done by decision. It might come down to a split decision. I don't know. JDM's good. JDM's really solid. But I trust Bilal. That sounds weird. I trust Bilal, you know? And honestly, at this point, I kind of like Bilal. I'm kind of rooting for Bilal. You know, I don't love him. He's kind of cringe. He said his fantasy posts on Twitter are really weird. Like, just stop it. You're weird and cringe. But other than that, I enjoy him. And honestly, I was rooting for him like a little bit inside when he fought Leon Edwards. At the time, I thought I was like, Leon Edwards is going to beat him. I thought Leon Edwards was going to beat him, but I was like, for Bilal to come this far and be this hated and to win a title, that would be awesome for him. I would love that for him. And you know what? Beat JDM. That'd be solid. Then we can get the Shavkat fight even more, right? But yeah, man, Shavkat, I want to see him fight more. JDM, I hope he keeps fighting more after this. But yeah, anyways, on to featherweight debacles. Now, this is the order of events in which I found this to give context as to what my brain went through when I read all this crap on Instagram. Sorry, excuse me. The throat's being weird today. I hope I sound okay. So I saw that Volk and Lopez, Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopez were booked. And I was like, hey, awesome. Okay, that fight's been rumored. You know, it's official by the UFC now. World Featherweight Championship. I look at it and I go, what? What do you mean? The interim title, maybe? Maybe they worded it. It has to be for the interim title, right? Because there was a rumored interim championship. Nope. Ilia Topuria vacates the 145 belt. Whoa. Okay. And also, keep in mind, Dana said he had a big announcement. It turned into like several big announcements at this point. But yeah, Ilia Topuria vacates. I know he'd been stating there were rumors that like he was having a hard time weight cutting, which whatever. Look at Diego Lopez. That dude is massive. He should be a lightweight, but he's making 145. So honestly, no excuses. And you're not a big featherweight either. You are not. Josh Emmett's bigger than you. Diego Lopez is bigger than you. Movsar Evloev is yoked, dude. I know he's shorter, but he's yoked. I don't buy that. But also, what Ilia Topuria himself stated was that I've cemented my legacy at 145, and I have nothing left there to accomplish, which he has cemented his legacy. I will give him that. He has knocked out Volk and the unknockoutable Max Holloway. He did it. He did that. That is you cementing your legacy, right? But no, you have not done everything at 145. Doing everything at 145, in my opinion, is beating Lopez and Evloev. Okay? I won't be super mad at Ilia over this because he's vacating and he's leaving the division. If he were to hold on to the belt, like John Jones, if he were to hold on to the belt and say, I want a rematch with Volk, and then I want, a Conor McGregor fight, and I want to rematch Max Holloway and not let Volk and Evloev and all the other contenders have a chance, then yeah, I would be upset. I'd be like, this is a John Jones situation. Fight your next guys in the division. But he's vacating and leaving the division and leaving it up to them. So I can't be too mad at Ilia over it. I just think his reasoning is silly because there are still contenders and questions to be answered in that division. Lopez. Fight Lopez. He's ranked number 3. I think he beats Lopez, but still, it doesn't matter if we think he beats them or not. There are still rightful contenders in that division, right? And then there's Evloev. I think if he beats Evloev, that really proves Ilia's all-aroundness and really proves that he is the best in that division and no one could ever beat him, right? No one at 145 could ever beat him. You know? And at this point, now that Ilia's gone, it really feels like any champion that comes out of the featherweight division now isn't the best. They're the second best. Because Ilia was the best. Ilia was the best. He knocked out Volk and Max, and he was the scary thing in the division. Then he just left. And, what if Volk wins back the title against Lopez? Ilia already knocked out Volk. There's no aura in Volk regaining the title. If Volk beat Ilia and regained the title, then oh my gosh, that's aura in regaining the title, and he might be the best featherweight of all time if he isn't already. But Volk regaining the title after Ilia's gone, it's like, yeah, Ilia already smoked him. Doesn't really mean much. Volk, you're the second best featherweight in the world. You know who the best featherweight in the world is? He's moved on. And if Lopez wins the title, I don't know, then it's like, this guy's kind of beatable. He really is. He's really kind of beatable. And then it's like Lopez, Ilia could have smoked him. And then if Movsar Evloev gains the title, then it's like, now we got another grappler who's never finished anybody in the title as the champion. And then that's going to suck. And, Ilia, come on down and smoke him, I'm sad for the featherweight title picture now because Ilia's not in it. I want Ilia in it, and I want Ilia to cement his legacy, but alas, that will never happen. He's moving up to lightweight permanently, it looks like, and he'll be facing, I'm assuming he'll be facing Islam Makhachev. If not, I see him either facing Charles Oliveira, Arman Sarukian, or Dustin Poirier. let's talk about each of the three. Yeah, let's not bring up Justin Gaethje. Let's not bring that up. Charles Oliveira. We'll start with that first because that was the most talked about, right? That was the big rumored one that he was gonna, before all this happened, by the way, that he was gonna go up to 155 and fight Charles Oliveira. I think he'd knock him out. I think he'd smoke him, right? Charles Oliveira is very hittable. He has a good chin. He has an okay chin. It's not like a good chin. Charles Oliveira doesn't have like a good chin. He just has a really good recovering ability. Not against Ilya. No. I mean, Charles has fought Dustin, Justin, Chandler. He's fought all those hard-hitting guys. They just don't have the same kind of power that Ilya does. Ilya has that one-hitter-quitter power. Dustin has big volume striking. Justin Gaethje has just thud on his shots, that just discombobulates you, but you're not getting knocked out, right? We saw that against Chandler. We saw that against Fiziev. Heck, right? Justin doesn't have that one-hitter-quitter power. I mean, he has knocked people out like that before, but not really anymore. Dustin, like I said, he has knocked people out, but Dustin has less one-hit KO. I think almost as many or less than Justin Gaethje. Dustin is very much a more volume boxer. He doesn't knock out Ilya either. I think Ilya against Dustin, he'd get tagged early on. I think he'd have some adversity early on, but I think he'd come back and knock out Dustin Poirier in round 2 or 3. I think it'd be pretty easy in the grand scheme of things, right? And then let's go back to Charles Oliveira. I kind of got off topic, sorry. Against Charles Oliveira, man, like I said, Charles doesn't have the best defense. He keeps a good, tight, high guard. I think that could work well against Ilya. I think for Ilya, the game plan there would be to rip body shots. The other problem is Charles does have a pretty solid teep to keep you away, and I think against a shorter opponent that could work decently well. Ilya is very patient, though. That is the other thing. Ilya does not just rush in with shots. I still think he'd knock out Charles Oliveira. I think he'd get him up against the fence and knock him out. That's very possible. I could see that happening. Against Arman, dude. Arman's about the same height as Ilya. That's the other thing. I forget about that. Arman's like 5'7", but he's just a massive dude, right? I don't see Ilya getting held down and smothered too much by Arman, and I do think he could knock Arman out, but it's very 50-50. Honestly, I could see Arman just smothering Ilya into the ground by being the bigger dude and taking the fight safe and not wanting to stand with him on the feet. If it lasts too long on the feet, Ilya knocks him out. Against Islam, oof, man. Safe pick is Islam. I think Islam is just... I think he's just too big. He's too big. He's too good in the wrestling. Heck, but we saw Volk out wrestle, contend in the wrestling with Islam. Islam is very defensively sound. He's very defensively aware, but then again, Ilya just can find the shot. He just can find the shot. And he's just a better striker than Islam. Islam could try to throw up the head kicks again, like he did with Volk in the second fight, but man, I think it's a very close and a very scary fight. Me picking Islam isn't confident. It's not a confident pick. I think I will be picking with him anyways, but like I said, man, it's just Ilya just has that one-hitter-quitter power that can just change the course of the fight, That's the other thing is Islam fighting any of these other guys. Dustin, Justin, Charles, Chandler, Hooker, Holloway. They don't really have punches that change the course of the fight all the time. They're more volume strikers, or just big thudding brawlers like Chandler. Ilya has the punch that can change the course of the fight, and that's the difference here. I think if he does tag Islam, it could change the course of the fight for sure. Is he going to be able to do it? Get him up against the fence, because that's where he's going to do it. Is he going to be able to back him up against the fence and put him out? I don't know. I really don't know. we'll be picking Islam for now, but that's a fight I'm gonna have to think on, and that's definitely a fight you should not bet on if you guys are bettors out there. I'm gonna backtrack because I've kind of didn't talk about this. Volk versus Diego Lopez. I think Volk does have the skill set and the tool bag to beat Diego Lopez, but Diego's a different kind of fighter in that Max is an outside volume striker. Ilya waits for his opportunity, explodes on the inside. He has the accuracy and the power and the technical know-how to be able to find that shot to put you out. Diego Lopez has the power. He does, for sure. Not as much as Ilya, but he still has some dangerous power. But he's a brawler. He is very much a brawler. He loves his hooks. He really does love his hooks. And he gets you in that tie clinch, he just starts throwing uppercuts. If he gets Volk in a little tie clinch, yeah, he could probably put him away maybe. But I don't know. And also, he's just so big. I know Volk has fought guys like Max and Brian Ortega who are big for their division, but Lopez is just so strong. Oh my gosh. I think Volk's path to victory is mixing in the outside striking with the grappling. Lopez has a good submission ability, but sorry guys, Volk has dealt with Ortega before. Again, Ortega isn't as aggressive as Diego is. That's the other thing. Diego is just aggressive, and I don't know how Volk, especially at this stage in his career right now, is going to be able to hold up with against just aggression and explosiveness and power with power like that. He has been training with Aljamain Sterling, which gives me some hope that he can just out wrestle this dude. Heck, he took it to Volk. He took it to Islam, sorry. Volk took it to Islam. You know, maybe he can take it to Lopez and just expose the holes in his game. You know, that he just kind of just swings for the fences and doesn't have the best head movement. The most head movement he has is he dips for the overhands and stuff like that. But other than that, he doesn't really have head movement. I could see Volk exploiting Diego Lopez here. Do I think it'll happen? I don't know. I really don't know. I might have to go with Diego on this one, just by out physicaling a 35, 36-year-old Volk. But I don't know. This is, man, this recent UFC info dump has got me thinking, man. It's got me pondering all these things. I'm going to have to make proper prediction videos in the future, but a lot of these are going to take some time to think over, man. It's just a lot. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming to my little rant sesh, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.